Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm talking to Justin of the band Ulthar. How are you doing, Justin?
Well, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me. And big fan of Ulthar and some of the previous bands you've been a part of. Um, uh, whereabouts are you located?
I live in Oakland, California.
Okay, cool. Um, is that somewhere where you grew up, or where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Northeast, just outside of Lowell, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay, awesome.
I've been on here for about 8 years.
Oh, cool. Um, and uh, what are some of the bands that you're a part of now besides Altar?
Now, Ulthar, Vale. Um, I was in Void Omnia for a long time. We have a new thing that we've been cooking up for a few years that does not have a name yet. Hopefully, that'll see the light of day soon. I started playing with a newer band called Penury that had members of Buttervogu and Augers and a Volse. And I just joined another band called Swamp Witch. It's like kind of doomy stuff from the Bay Area. They've been around for a long time.
Okay, awesome. And I should mention to everyone that the Altar, the new album, will be out on February 17th. So everyone should definitely look out for that and definitely pick up the vinyl or CD or tape just to see the artwork and the lyrics. Um, and so you mentioned that you kind of grew up in the Northeast, um, and then you moved out to the Bay Area. Kind of how would you say the scenes are? Um, those two places that you've been, how would you say the scenes are different or similar?
I moved away from Boston over 20 years ago at this point. So I lived in New York for a long time in between Boston and here. So I can't speak to the current situation in Boston, but there was a lot of DIY stuff at the time. There was a lot of house shows. There were a good amount of bars and stuff like that doing shows. It was a pretty good scene.
Okay, cool. And then I mentioned that before we recorded that you were featured in this US black metal book with the band Mutilation Rights. So you've been a part of like the black metal style for a while. What was it that kind of drew you into black metal?
Early on, like I grew up listening to a lot of punk, and I didn't get into metal until later. But I think black metal drew me in with its kind of raw lo-fi aesthetics and production. I just like the dirtier side of things, so that's kind of what drew me to black metal.
Yeah, and when you were part of, I think you were part of the formation of Mutilation Rights. Is that correct?
Yeah, uh, one of the guitar players and I formed that band in 2009, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember just checking out Mutilation Rights. I think well when I first heard was like 2012. There was the album Empyrean.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that album and just the album art just it was I was just completely drawn to it. And yeah, I could definitely hear like that punk style or kind of like that kind of like a crusty punk style with the black metal.
definitely.
Yeah. Um what were some of your like early like influences or interests when you started playing black metal?
I guess kind of the basic stuff like Bathory Mayhem, uh, Dark Throne. You know, the entry level basic stuff, the larger of the first wave.
Oh yeah. Yeah, kind of like that like the Norwegian styles.
Exactly. Dissection.
Awesome. Oh hell yeah, I love dissection.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. um but and then you I believe your the band Mutilation Rights is no longer active, but how did Ulthar kind of get started?
I was moving out to the Bay Area, and Shelby and I were buds, and we just talked about jamming when I came out here. It didn't
Yeah,
start. We didn't have any preconception. We didn't really have an idea or a plan or anything. Just wanted to play music because we're friends.
yeah. And compared to your previous bands, like what how would you say Ulthar is like sound wise different?
There's a lot more death metal influence, so it's pretty equal black and death.
Yeah, I could see that with the other members being part of some other like black death metal projects.
Yeah,
But
Shelby's in Vastum.
oh hell
And
yeah, yeah, I love that band. Yeah.
he was in a band for a long time called Apocryphon. They're
Mhm.
a Bay Area death metal staple.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I mean, I noticed that that area, Bay Area, is big in like death metal. I don't really hear too many like black metal bands coming out of that Bay Area.
There's Funeral Chant is definitely the most ripping black metal band that's around here right now. I would check them out.
Oh,
They're
nice.
they're really fucking good.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm in Arizona, like northern Arizona, so the scene out here is pretty spread out. There's some bands around that. I'm not in any bands, or I'm not, but there are like a couple of black metal bands out here. More, um, it's more. They're more like I guess you could call them like Native American like bands. Kind of that use black metal, but then incorporate like the like indigenous and Native American like background or culture. So I really dig that.
I've seen some of that coming out. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed it's getting picking up the last couple of years, and it's cool seeing kind of like bands get bigger, getting more exposure. It's pretty cool. I guess the big one is this one right here, the Black Parade.
I'm not familiar.
It's like a one man black metal. I believe they're out of. It's a one man project out of New York.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. I'd say it's kind of got that Norwegian style, but also has like the sort of like the Wolves in the Throne Room kind of like atmosphere.
Cascadian.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then there's another one. This one gets a lot of attention.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Pan American Native Front.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I just watched their they did a KQED performance. Is that what it was?
Yeah, yeah, they did a live like a studio performance. Yeah, I checked that out.
That's cool.
It's pretty sick. Just like the whole aesthetic with the with like the war paint and
Yeah,
um yeah, it just looks badass.
it is.
Um, and then well, I guess those are like the two main ones that are people probably more familiar with on a national or international level. Um, and then with Ulthar, you guys released two previous albums, Cosmovore and Providence.
Correct.
Yeah, I was a big fan of those two
Thank you.
albums. And then the new album is going to come out February 17th. Actually, there's two new albums. Yeah, can you kind of talk about like how you guys approach that with the two albums coming out at once?
Well, I guess it's technically two albums, but it's they're adjacent, if that makes sense. Like the artwork fits together, and it's basically just not a double LP. We just split it into two LPs, but you could sort of look at it as a double LP, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
The first record is 8 songs and 40 minutes, and the second record is 2 songs in 40 minutes, and it is not an ambient record, which a lot of people have been assuming. It's just 2 death metal, like 2 Black Death songs that are 20 minutes long.
Yeah, I got the promo copy and I checked it out. Yeah, the first, well, I don't know, is there like a part 1 and a part 2, or are they 2 separate?
I don't know if there's like a part 1 and a part 2. Depends on how you want to look at it, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I listened to the Anthronomicon first. That's the one with the 8 separate tracks.
That one's probably a little easier to digest at first.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just, to you can like take a break, you can listen to one song and then just kind of catch your breath. And then the second album, the Helio, or the, I guess you could say, fourth album. Yeah, that one's like a marathon. I feel like if I were long distance running, I would listen to that one. And if I was going to be like sprinting, I would definitely listen to the Anthronomicon with the 8 tracks.
That's how it felt recording and writing them as well.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely picks up from the last album. Yeah, I always like there's always like some melody throughout the songs. I think there was one song, I think it's the 7th track on Anthronomicon, the Larynx Plateau.
Okay.
I love the intro just sounds so cool and catchy, and then just takes off.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the Helionomicon, I gotta admit, I've only listened to it one time through, and I definitely want to go back and listen to it some more. Is there like any kind of like lyrical like story or theme with the new albums?
That I can't answer for you because I am the drummer. There's like a long running theme. I'm not entirely sure. Those guys are kind of insane lyrically. If you've read anything, yeah, they're on another planet. I try and bring them back down to this one a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely can kind of see that with the tracks. I don't have the lyrics for the new albums, but I'm definitely gonna get the vinyl for those new albums. I have the 2 previous albums. The artwork is really cool. I always dug that. It's like super detailed, and
all of our record covers are Ian Miller.
Okay. And
he did some artwork for Warhammer and Bolt Thrower. He's done like Magic the Gathering cards. He's like prolific UK artist.
Yeah. Was the album art for the new albums, like, were they done specifically for the band?
Yes, we had this one commissioned. The last 2 were licensed. Those were just existing pieces that we used. The Cosmivore record cover was originally Ian Miller did a bunch of covers for the soft cover reissues of Lovecraft books, I believe in the 70s. And ours is a different version of the what is it? Mountain of Madness? Can't think of the name right now. But yeah, so those other 2 were commissioned pieces, but this one was drawn specifically for us.
Nice. Yeah, they're pretty badass. I'm definitely getting the records just to complete the discography. Yeah, I mean it's super heavy. It's like, yeah, definitely can definitely hear the death metal aspect. With we mentioned your previous bands. What's your take on like the current like US black metal I guess bands or bands that are coming out?
There's a lot going on. It's kind of hard to generalize everything. There's a bunch of cool bands. There's a bunch of rough bands. There's some stuff. I don't know. It's all over the place. I like some of what's going on. I generally listen to older stuff. I just recently got to do sound for the two Ludacris reunion shows. That was really cool. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
Oh
They're also
yeah,
USBM book. Those are awesome. That to me is them and like Weakling are kind of the two US black metal bands for me.
yeah. Yeah, I was always a fan of like I think the Pacific Northwest bands like Agalloch. I think they were probably like one of the first, like when I started kind of discovering more US black metal bands. I think like Agalloch just kind of like blew me away just because yeah, they're almost like I'm like a folk. They got like a lot of like folk style with the acoustics and the
Yeah.
clean singing.
I'm not super familiar with a lot of Agalloch stuff.
Yeah. Um Yeah, I think they're no longer active, but I believe they have about 5 albums, and then they kind of like just dissipated. Um, but I'm really like just a big proponent for all the like the Native American indigenous styles or bands that are coming out.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's just I think just the imagery, it fits like black metal, like the way aesthetically black metal looks. I think it fits perfect.
Definitely agree with you on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, with the two records I showed you. Um, but yeah, I just kind of live out here in like northern Arizona, so I just kind of follow it mostly online. I follow a lot of bands on social media and a lot of record labels, and that's kind of how I find new bands. And you guys' record label is probably like one of the best ones like out right now.
Buck is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Dave is amazing. I've never had anyone put that much faith in a project that I've been a part of.
Yeah. One of my favorite albums from last year was the Zompantli album. Came out on 20 Bucks Spin about 6 months ago.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, it's like Death Doom.
Cool.
Yeah, Death Doom, the the guy behind the project, Brian Ortiz, he's a part of some other bands. But this one is more focused on like like Mesoamerican, like Central American indigenous history. It's really sick.
Oh, cool.
But
Where's that based out of?
I think he's based out of Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that was like for sure one of my favorite albums of last year, and just yeah, looking forward to more from his band, and pretty much from anything from 20 Bucks Spin, I'm pretty much gonna check it out.
Got a good ear.
Yeah. Are there any like bands you think people should check out that like people maybe may not be aware of?
Mortuous. Those guys are good, but another Bay Area death metal band. They share Chad from Necrot. He's the drummer. I think they're pretty up and coming. They're doing a lot more now. I definitely would recommend them.
Oh hell yeah, yeah! I dig them too. They're sick.
Sick band, sick dudes. Necrot's gonna do a bunch of stuff again this year, but everybody knows who Necrot is.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're badass. They I think I only seen them once live, but yeah, they're yeah. I dig their style of death metal. It's like kind of reminds me of like I don't know, like almost like a stoner sludgy style, kind of like High on Fire. I don't know. That's just my own personal take, I guess.
Oh yeah. And I mentioned before Funeral Chant. Definitely check out Funeral Chant from here. Chad from Necrot and Mortuous has a label called Carbonized, and he put out the Funeral Chant record.
Oh hell yeah, yeah, for sure. Check them out.
Did I lose you? Okay.
Oh no, I'm there.
He's
All right. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and I hope everyone checks out the two Ulthar albums that'll be coming out on February 17th.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.